I was having a crimson tide shirt on, slightly drunk. And I was like, look at the pretty teeth on that boy. It's so pretty.
I think some people are still go to at 3 o'clock, so I'm gonna just start. Okay, so I'm gonna talk a little bit about Visix and what I've been doing with Visix for the last, I guess, month and a half. So, yeah, I'll just start here. Okay, so some background for this demo. I was tasked a few months ago by Patty to kind of look into Visix and see if we could leverage Visix into a media wall solution or have it be like the content, like back-end system for the media wall. So, so that's when I started like the investigation. And so what would we present on the media wall? I believe, like Patty's mentioned, showcasing universities' research. Whoops, I set the time out to 30 seconds. So anyway, so showcase university research and then maybe use it to promote digital collections or digital exhibits. I know there's some talk about visualization tools like bpress is an example of like geographically where are people downloading our bpress content, right? Our institutional research or IR, right? So those are the things that Patty wanted to see if we could like use Visix to push this content. Okay, so you're gonna have to bear with me because we're gonna go through these different layouts, and the layouts take like a minute to update. So, so yeah, there's gonna be a little bit of waiting, but you feel free to ask your questions. Just ask questions. So, how are we currently using Visix? Right, we're currently using it for wayfinding. You know, right now the kiosks are active, so you could kind of look on the map and see where you want to go and what events are happening and which rooms. We're using it for announcements, so just general promotion of library events and services. We're using it as room signage. You see that generic display on, you know, each one of the rooms with like whatever's going on for the day in there. And more recently, we use one of those displays next to the elevator to display library info, and right now I have like that drone footage currently playing out there. Okay, so that's how we're currently using it. But I just want to, I guess, show everyone like how it could be used for maybe digital exhibits or used to promote digital exhibits and or promote physical exhibits using Visix, right? So working with this, I kind of learned like the ins and outs, the little quirks. Like this kind of jumped me out to a website. So this is a totally different website that's not Visix, right? Now it's kind of jumped back into Visix. And if I change the layout, try to change the layout in between, it kind of goes blank. So I kind of have to wait till it comes back to Visix in order for me to change the layout. So it's like one of those quirky things that you learn. So now I'm changing a layout. So what it's going to do is go through a cycle of these and then switch the layout. And actually, a sign kind of pops up saying transitioning to a different layout. So these are just slides that we've created in the library and it's playing. And this is a hotspot. Right now it says browse collection. I was just using it to show how it can send you to a different website.
So if we wanted, so basically all content would have to use one layout, or else this would happen out there.
No, you could use different layouts. You'll just see that transition slide in between, and it only took a couple seconds.
Right.
But like, if people are on a different website, because let's say the hotspot takes you to a different website, and while you're at the different website and you do the transition or do the layout change, that's when things went blank. So as long as you wait till it goes back into the Visix content, you're okay. So that's what I did. I waited till it went back to that playlist, and then I switched the layout. So, okay, what you're looking at here is 10 images from the Showgirls collection. And we just kind of put some basic description, like information about the photo, and just kind of displaying the images full screen in HD, right? So there's nothing special. We're using the transitions that are built into Visix, so you see the transitions from one image to the next. It's just randomly selected, random transition, okay? So it's just a matter of selecting the images, cropping it, setting it to this full resolution, HD resolution, and just putting it in a playlist, and it'll just play. So if I wanted to, let's say, provide a link to their website, right, and it's a touchscreen, I could hit this, and then right now I have it going to our Showgirls collection on our d.library.unlv.edu, right, which is a little different than the Showgirls pages, like the portal page, right? This takes you right into the stuff. So the touchscreen support that you see here is what's native to Windows, okay? So this is what Windows 8 supports, right? So it'll let you kind of scroll through the images, and if I hit this image, it should blow it up full screen, right? And then we do this right. Yeah, it's a little tricky. Hit that cursor. Anyway. All right, so there you go. So I could like kind of navigate around this image. So I'm just, making use of whatever this website supports, right? This isn't anything that we design custom. This is Content DM, kind of out of the box interface running on a Windows 8 touchscreen, right? So if you have a Windows 8 computer and you bring up your browser and go to this website, you have the same touch interactivity, right? So yeah, this part that's been selected, but you could zoom in using the pinch, and the pinching doesn't work on this website. So you could use these things to zoom in and zoom out. Actually, just slide it. Okay. So some websites support touch stuff better, right? So let's wait. This is going to take a minute to kind of go back to the Visix page. So that's running full screen. Any questions? No?
Now, who do you make sit on these?
How do you sit at?
Slide
Don't
off.
get too comfortable.
Like people you want to leave the department.
No. You want people you want who to stay awake. You put them on.
You just have to keep the balance, right?
Yeah, it's like let's
like
just
one of
lean
those
them forward slightly.
monopod stools. But, yeah, I think it's maybe good for 10 minutes.
And then, the novelty is worn off.
10-minute meetings. Okay, so we went back to that. So I intentionally put 1 minute for the timeout, so if people aren't interacting with the website for a minute, it kicks you out back to the. So, but you could change the duration to whatever. Like I said, it's going to cycle through and then go to the different layout.
I meant to ask you, so when you click on the View Showgirls collection and it opens up that web page, is the user then kind of kiosked into just that website?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what happens. So I guess I could talk about the limitations with the hotspots. The hotspots only allow you to go to another website or launch an internal application, okay? So you can't go to a different slide in Visix. So let's say you have a playlist, right? And you want to jump to that playlist, you can't jump to that playlist.
Okay.
A hotspot only allows you to go to an external web page
Or launch it.
or launch an internal application running on the player. Okay, so So you're kind of limited. You can't jump around to different playlists and layouts within Visix. All right, so this is kind of a different layout that we set up for Showgirls. So we kind of themed the background, so you could have different backgrounds. You could even have animated backgrounds. So you could take a short, maybe looping video, and then you could actually have it running as background. I mean, you kind of have to be careful what you use. You know, it can't be too busy. There can't be too much movement. You know, because you want people to focus on these content boxes. So here, basically took the full screen image and then made it into a smaller content block, and then just kind of played it here. So it's going through its transitions and just kind of running the way it was, like on full screen, but just a small, just like half the size. And then we put this other content block to kind of just provide some context and information about, you know, how to get to more of the content. And I just pulled this from, you know, use blurb. So you could put as many pages as you want here. You could embed a video here in this window. You could change the fonts. I mean, it does support different fonts, right? You don't have to go with the generic blocky font and whatever. So yeah, and this browse collection takes you to the same thing, that web page.
Okay.
Okay. So any questions about this layout? So we did, so I did something similar with the Skyline collection, because Jennifer mentioned that that's
Oh, I
the
just
one
about the
that.
stuff for the airport. Yeah.
So yeah, it's gonna cycle through that. It has some smart kind of timing features for this text. You could actually set it to the slide speed of the slide changing to based on the amount of words. So I don't know how accurate that is or how good that is, but that there is a setting that says, you know,
For average
the
reading time.
Yeah, duration changes based on the number of
Can we
words.
do a scroll or something in there so people could just read it and then change the page within that block as they wanted to?
Oh, like touch scrolling through?
Or some sort of advanced button?
No, because the advanced button takes you to a different website or whatever. But what you can do is you could actually embed a page, a web page in here.
So the content's on a web
Right.
page. Okay.
And then if the content had like, if that web page had like, you know, next page and whatever, you actually navigate within that website. So you could embed a website in here. Okay. And that's, unfortunately, that's where you get all the like interactive functionality. That's where you get it, is through a website. Like your your hotspots and stuff through Visix, you're pretty limited. You only get that interactivity once you jump out to like a Flash application or an interactive HTML5 website. That's where you get that. It's not built into Visix. All right, so this one kind of gave it just a kind of a background, put the title on there. So this, what you're seeing, is right from our website, but we made it into a movie. So the transitions are like, this is like the Ken Burns kind of effect, but it's just going horizontal, right? So if you wanted tighter control over the transitions, get a little flashier, you can actually make it into a movie and then embed the movie. And you're not using the default transition, right? And something else I figured out doing this is if you run this movie full screen, your hotspot button flickers. So it's like that's, you know, you're not gonna figure those things out until you actually try it, right? So that's why I kind of reduced the window, put the browse collection here, right? So
So that's the one constant, is the browse collection thing. just.
Yeah,
so-
and you could, yeah, we could make that same button, you could keep that same button and use it for all the collections. You could, if you notice the Showgirls one, it says view Showgirls, that button was a little different, that was specific to Showgirls. But if you name it generic, if you just use this, you know, and keep to a template, come up with a template, you know, it'd just be kind of plug and shut type of thing.
And this one takes you to the Dreaming the Skyline portal page?
Yes, yes. So this is the last example. Just flip into it. So we did a 2-block also for the Skyline. And I put the quotes from our website on there. And yeah, it's gonna take a bit to look through.
I've never heard of any of these people.
Any of what?
Suzanne Summers.
Oh,
Suzanne
Suzanne
Summers.
Summers.
Rich
Wow,
I've heard
Suzanne Summers.
Wow.
She's in
She's
Vegas.
back in Vegas.
Yeah.
Is she?
Yeah.
Peter Lynn Hayes' mother was Grace Hayes. She was a silent screen movie star, and we have her papers and special collections.
Awesome.
Cool.
That's very cool.
Okay, so this is the 2-column or 2 content block, just like the Showgirls. Again, just running the movie here. And this, so within each content block, you have a playlist, right?
Right.
So playlist, you consider like a slideshow, and each slideshow could have its own background. So I use a drawing, an illustration from the collection as the background of this, as opposed to some generic gray or blue, right? So, so this is just text. So you could have text over the background. And I think in this example, in a couple slides, I put the website and I put a QR code on there. So if people want to, you know, get to it.
So how are we talking about this going downstairs? What's that gonna look like?
It could look just like this. Just plug in whatever content you want.
So we could, if we did, so for example, the Showgirls exhibit, we could have this down there, implement somehow, pushing content, that'll be available to us all the time, or where's, like, where does this thing go? Is this the only iteration of this, or like,
Okay.
what's the next?
Well, I think part of it's going to be up to the committee. Like, I'm using this to test and prototype,
Gotcha.
but I have no problems anchoring down the. Well, I know
So-
Jason should.
So
say.
it's a proof of concept is what it's doing right now. And so with our existing screens, this could be one of the ones at the elevator. But we're also working to turn the 2 screens outside of Goldfield, you know, that little partition
Yeah.
thing between the bathrooms and the Goldfield, connecting those to Visix as well. We've got the hardware for it, we just need to pull the wiring
Yeah.
to the closet, and so that's gonna take a little time. But those 2 screens are meant for digital exhibits too.
Okay.
And I mean, if there are no issues, I have no problems like locking this down, anchoring things, and rolling it downstairs and having it next to the Showgirls stuff.
As a test
Just
drive.
as a promotional attention grabber kind of thing. So, yeah, so that's it. And now what I did a little differently with this one, when you hit Browse Collection here, it takes you to the portal website that we have for Dreaming the Skyline, right? Because what I could have done is I could have had it go to the same kind of entry point as the Showgirls one, which is like that generic content DM interface. But we have a portal page for Dreaming the Skyline, like the website, right? So this one I have it, so it's directing people to the website. You'll also realize that the touch interface is fairly limited here. If you want to scroll, you actually have to use the scroll bar.
Is that a Visix limitation?
It's the Visix website thing. You know, if the website's like designed a certain way, it's more, you know, compatible on touchscreens.
Will a touchscreen keyboard pop up if
Yeah,
it
I
goes to
believe,
search
I
the
believe
collection?
so. I
Thinking
believe
that.
so.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We could have done that for Showgirls to do, they take people's comments,
Oh, yeah, that's a good.
and then we could have like approved comments start popping up and see what people are saying about it in another on a website.
Yeah,
Yeah.
moderate it.
Then we could have it and like, yeah, obviously people can just type in wherever they
Right.
want to. Good God.
Like you said, approved, right?
Yeah, yeah. That would be
Moderate,
cool.
moderated comments. Yeah, so, but it's clunky, like, when you
Yeah.
like put stuff in there and start working with it, you'll realize like its limitations and stuff.
It's meant to get a sense of, not to do your deep research.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
and then when you're here and you have links that go out to like the main library's website and UNLV's, people could jump onto it. It's not locked down, this page isn't designed to run as a kiosk, so people could just jump onto the library's website.
Yeah.
You know, so, I mean, that's
What's
what
the most-
happens.
What's the most you can restrict it with Visix? Is it the UNLV.edu or edu or?
I didn't see those as options.
Okay.
It's just like, go to a website, like you provide a URL.
And there's
And
really
it
no way to
goes-
keep them from typing in their own URL?
I don't think so. I mean, unless you create,
We could restrict it to neutral subnet.
That's what I was thinking,
and that
yeah.
would stop them, yeah.
But it seems like one thing that we need to understand is that you can navigate out, but you can't go backwards, right?
yeah, you can't
So,
provide,
it's like kind of a one-way
Yeah.
navigate, and then
But
you have
it'll
to wait
time
the
out.
1 minute. and
yeah,
then
you'll
go
wait a
back.
timeout
So
and go.
it won't get stuck
Simple.
somewhere
Yeah.
and be left like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, you could build a custom web page just to use, to reference from Visix.
And put the controls in there?
Right, and so you don't have any links that go outside, you just kind of go into that one kind of contained mini site, right? So you can do that. Yeah, I think that's it. And just know that if we're not using touch screens and they're just regular screens, yeah, you could take the hotspots out of it, right? You could just take the hotspots out, you could put ticker info or smaller like images, you could put multiple content blocks, right? You don't have to have a hotspot, you don't have to provide touchscreen, if it's just taking it.
So I know this is just a proof of concept, we're not doing it yet, but I could see this being a lot of work for someone, and I don't know
Yeah.
who that would be.
Yeah.
I know you've done this yourself as part of the experiment, but, the design work, the curating the content that needs to go into it, and then somebody should probably sign off on things like, the right fonts and the UNLV logo and the grant funding, so it does seem like, is that part of the committee, or how does,
Right, so.
do we not know that yet, because we're still kind of just experimenting, or?
Right, one of the things, as part of the research, I'm supposed to kind of come up with estimates
Yeah.
for like how long it took or what the resources it took to kind of put something like this together, so I'm gonna do that.
Okay.
But part of it is, like, we recycled content that's already there, it wasn't like we had to go dig and hunt,
Yeah.
right? It's stuff from our website, stuff
Yeah.
that's already in our digital collections, but like somebody should be responsible for curating, right? Saying like, we want 10 images to promote this, pick the 10 images that best represents the collection, right? Somebody needs to be responsible for it.
Or
And-
like, there could be like 2 or 3 layouts that you've developed.
Exactly.
If you want to use these layouts,
Yeah.
you're good to go.
And that's what I was trying to demonstrate, is
Yeah.
like, okay, you could do a full screen, you could do content blocks, you could do videos, you could do, whatever, right? But maybe having something to go off of or a template, I think it's a good place to start, right? So that was the whole point. So, I guess what I wanted to touch on a little bit is like the good parts of Visix for, I think, what you want to do here, is that it's a good system for like ease of distribution, right? So if we had like 50 Visix screens around the library, you could put this on any of the 50 screens, like pretty easily.
Or you could
You know.
vary it,
Yeah.
this on 2 screens and something else on 2 other screens,
Yeah,
right?
like you could
Yeah.
put this on 10 screens, you could put like any location, that's pretty easy to do. You don't have to, like, you do it from one central point, because it's centrally managed, right? So that's a good thing. Content management, so when you have like all these images, you have movie files, background files, playlists, layouts, all these things, it's centrally managed, right? And basically you could put it in folders and you can manage the content in there. And you can share content, so if somebody else who's also running Visix, they wanted to use a background that you have, like you could share it, right? And people get to it. So that's another good point. And then of course it has structure, right? It takes a little bit of time to learn and understand the Visix structure, but once you get it down, it makes it fairly straightforward for multiple people to use the same content. Okay, so the bad, I think I mentioned the limited like functionality with the hotspot, right? I think like I've heard in the past Visix sales pitches, it's like, yeah, Visix can do this and Visix can do that, and
Only with programs.
Visix, yeah, it does a lot of it outside of Visix, right? Our wayfinding page, that is a website. It's not a Visix like core feature, right? So yeah, you're kind of limited with like creating cool interactive applications unless you just build it on a separate website. The tools are a little clunky. The development, the management side, things time out, things don't refresh right. And that one example when I showed, like, if you don't wait till it gets back to the Visix screen and then you do a layout change and things go black. You know, those things are a little clunky, a little buggy. And they kind of came out with the newer release, and apparently it was a huge improvement over the last one. What else? The learning curve is a little steep. I think Patty kind of hoped that this would be like a really easy to use tool, like a PowerPoint type thing, and people could just jump on and throw in their content and maybe send it out to some other research faculty, TA, and they'll be able to like pump in the content themselves. It's not so easy. I mean, it's not that it's a terribly hard system to learn. It's just like you have to know the structure and its layers and terminology used. So I think that's going to be like the initial learning curve, is kind of learning how this whole system works before you kind of just plug in content. And what's the other thing? The last thing is multi-screen support. So I know if this is to be considered for this media wall will likely have more than one screen. And if you go to the Visix website, they'll talk about like, yeah, we'll do multiple screen support. But what I found is it's fairly new, like what they're promoting for multiple screens, and it's kind of hardware-based solution, not so much a Visix like integrated solution for multiple screens. It's like you get the multiple screen functionality from the hardware that you have to purchase, as opposed to having doing it through the software. So it'd be a little tricky. It's going to be more expensive to do a multi-screen deployment. It's not just like, oh, it's just the price of extra monitors. It's like, no, you have to buy additional hardware to work. So anyway, okay, sorry. So that's all I got. Do you have any questions? Anything else about Visix? If you want to roll it out, I'm willing to like help set up trial, installations, and I don't know whether you want to roll it out there, have a peer coach ask people like, what do you think about this type of thing? Like,
Right.
I could pretty easily set this up for something like that.
Okay. Cool. I like making peer coaches do things. It's like our own little private army.
It kind of is, isn't it?
Okay. Very cool. I think we might actually have something coming up that will be a interesting test for this.
All right.
But I have to talk to my committee first.
Okay.